Hello Year 4, welcome to chapter 15 of Wonderscape. I hope you enjoy. The door still opened with a low hiss and closed behind them. On the other side, a set of winding steps descended into darkness. Arthur took out his mobile phone and turned on the torch. One good thing about not using it for 2 days was that it still had some battery life. As the three of them followed Cloud down, the air turned staler. It smelled like the back of Arthur's wardrobe, musty winter coat with a hint of damp trainer. Judging by the cobwebs breaking across the body, he doubted anyone had been there for a very long time, and he wondered what they might find. Perhaps they'll discover a clue to Milo Hertz's location, or even Milo himself. It was important they found him soon. Both of their missions relied on it. At the bottom of the stairs, they stepped on the stone floor. The air hummed and soft purple light glowed overhead. They were standing in the corner of an enormous hall filled with rubble. Chunks of masonry were missing from the walls. There were holes in the ceiling, blackened potholes in the flagstone floor, and scorch marks on just about every surface. The far wall was covered by flickering hologram screens. Beneath the wreckage was the remains of a friendly office, equipped with comfy floating armchairs and desks with shattered coffee mugs and shriveled pot plants. Water dripped from several holes in the ceiling, echoing like a snare drum. With his nose pressed against the floor and his bottom in the air, Cloud set off to sniff the site, doing his best bloodhound impression. "This has got to be Milo's headquarters," Cicely whispered, treading carefully over the debris. "But what happened? It looks like it was attacked." "Yeah, by mimics," Ben said ominously. "I bet these burn marks were exactly the kind of thing that would be made by the V-Class and T-Class units' weapons." Arthur shuddered. It was one thing seeing the mimics with weapons, but another entirely to witness the damage they could cause. And to think all that power was being wielded by Valera and Tiburon alone. He felt a waft of air overhead and ducked as four black drones the size of crows shot out of a hole in the ceiling. Their chunky cuboid bodies were like a cluster of Earthling Minecraft blocks with googly strange eyes, hovering sinisterly over. They began scanning the ground with long green sensors. Ren drew her bow. "More robots." "What are they?" Cicely asked, itching back. "Do you think they'll try and kill us?" "Those are top two questions," Arthur agreed, nodding frantically, his muscles tense and his check for the hall for exits. If the robots had been sent by Valera to hunt them down, they'll need a quick escape. But the drone paid no attention. Within moments of completing the scan, the bodies reconfigured into masses of smaller cubes. Two of them transformed into dustbins, while the other pair changed into brushes. Then they set about sweeping the floor. Cleaner bots, Arthur realized. Their presence must have activated them. Slowly, his nerves started to subside. Navigating the ruins, he tried to imagine what might have transpired. It struck him as odd that the mess had been left untouched. Perhaps this is why the space felt haunted, that the wounds inflicted had never fully healed. As three of them ventured further in, more technology hummed and glowed into life. Dust crumbled from the rubble as the exits buried beneath their struggled to the surface. Arthur jumped as a cloud of glittering particles burst into the corner and fashioned itself into a jukebox vending machine. Violet's light shone under the furniture on the edges of the room, giving the place a funky hotel lobby vibe. It wasn't until they reached the center of the hall that they could finally examine the holographic screens. Most of them were flickering so badly it was impossible to discern what they had been displayed once. But a couple of showed live CCTV watches of the city. One of the view outside was concealed by the tunnel entrance by the IGC building. The largest function screen resembled an airport departure board. A section on the left featured a list of numbers marked by either a hexagon, triangle, or a cross, and the column on the right displayed either open, closed, or pending. Each number had a name written next to it. Those must be the realms of wonderscape, Cicely stared, staring at the screen. There are over 200 of them. Arthur's gaze drifted down the grid. Some names he'd never heard of, others sounded familiar, but he wasn't quite sure who they were. Of the ones he knew, there were doctors, musicians, dancers, inventors, athletes, chemists, and campaigners, among others. William Shakespeare, Marie Curie, Edith Cavell, Renred, Albert Einstein. I can't believe all those incredible people are trapped here, forced to do Shakespearean's bidding. And Tubians threatened to kill their families, Cicely added in a wobbly voice. It's barbaric. As Arthur contemplated the scale of Tribion's cruelty, his mouth went dry. The heroes realized he was similar to the three of them, lost in time they didn't understand, unsure if they would ever get home again, to see their loved ones again. But he and Ren and Cicely were the heroes, were all alone. Tightening his jaw, he felt a renowned surge of determination to help them all. The symbols probably denote who designed this the realm, he guessed. Which is why there aren't any hexagons towards the end of the list, because Milo had fled by then. At the bottom of the screen was an M-shaped controller, just like the one they'd used in Tom Gozum's realm. Ren gave it to an Experian nudge, and the pinprick of light traced his movement on screen. This doesn't tell us where Milo is, she said, moving her hand away. Shall we search this place for clues? Maybe this is where Milo went before he ran away. We might find something useful. Can we have a drink or something to eat first? Cicely asked, clambering over a section of rubble. I don't know about you two, but I'm running on empty. Arthur had noticed she was scrambling towards the vending machine. Its flashing neon lights seemed to activate an alarm in its head saying, you haven't eaten in way too long. He checked his watch, and 7 hours since they woke up at Tom's house. They hadn't stopped since. Let's restock our supplies and take a break before we begin, he decided. There aren't any mimics here. I think we're safe. Cicely took charge of the shopping while Arthur and Ren found a reasonably unharmed bench and heaved it against one of the walls. Cloud flopped on the floor, his pink tongue lolling out of his mouth. I'm not exactly sure what everything is, Cicely admitted, carrying back an armful of strange cuisine. There was a star-shaped loaf of bread, streaked with what looked like blue jam, a box of glowing purple dumplings, and some cube-shaped fruits with some cracked skins. She had also purchased 3 litres of water contained in a squidgy pouch. Ren poked a hole in it with a corkscrew attachment of a multi-tool, and they refilled their pipsqueaks bottles several times, guzzling as much as they could. Here, Arthur said, sharing out the bread. This stuff has a weird marshmallow texture, but it tastes good. As he bit into the dough, his memory turned to last weekend when he and Dad had made pancakes. They played rock, paper, scissors for the last time, and even though Dad won, he'd given Arthur the final pancake anyway. A lump formed in the back of Arthur's throat as he considered the possibility that he might never see him again. Ren nudged him with his elbow as she peeled out one of the cube fruits. Are you alright? The water on Arthur's wonder clock had turned a dismal shade of grey and was dotted with circular ripples, just like puddles in the rain. Just one about my dad, he said. Honestly, it's just the two of us, and we don't make it home. I don't know what I'll do. She gave him a weak smile. I'm trying not to think about that. Cicely huffed and dropped her chin to her hands. Her sunflowers bowed their head like hearses just driven by. You want to know something embarrassing, she said wearily. My parents might not even know I'm missing. I was off sick with the flu for a week last year, and they didn't call me for 3 days because my aunt hadn't been able to get hold of their PA. Arthur lowered his hung chunk of bread. Whenever he was ill, his dad took a day off work to care for him. He hadn't realized how lucky he was. Their business is everything to them, Cicely continued. They sometimes work 7-day weeks. And when they're away so often doing fashion shows or photo shoots, I spend more time with my aunt and cousins. Her voice cracked. They're a really nice family, but I'm an outsider there. She paused, her eyes welling with tears without thinking. Arthur shuffled closer and put his arm around her shoulders. He felt Wren's hand on Cicely's back and realized she'd done the same from the other side. Your parents probably think you're doing the right thing, he resounded gently. They're working hard to give you the best life. I know, she said quietly, but I'd rather see them every day, like you do with your dad. Arthur didn't know what to say. It hadn't occurred to him that someone like Cicely, with her nice house and expensive holidays, would be envious of what he had. Hoping to cheer her up, he searched for Cloud. The little dog was digging in a pile of rubble on the opposite side of the hall, wagging his tail as a paw at an armchair leg. Arthur caught a glimpse of Silver in the heap. Hey, do you two see that? Cicely sniffed and dried her cheeks. Where? Arthur rose to his feet and walked over. He covered his hand with the edge of his one cloak, as if not to cut himself on any sharp edges, and began tossing aside pieces of debris. Working quickly, he freed a misshapen mimic's head from under the junk. It had no skin, no hair, just a bare skull and lifeless eyes. He passed the head to Cicely, where he and Wren had dug up a badly damaged arm and separate chest out of the pile, as well as several gashes in their metal causing casing, allowing a glimpse through to the mimic's advanced inner circuitry. I can't tell you the shape, if it's a T-class or V-class, Cicely remarked, cradling the mimic's battered head in her arms. She brushed dust off its chin, revealing a spiky figure inlaid in the surface of the metal, the letter M. Of course, Arthur hissed, frustrated he hadn't thought of it sooner. This must be one of Milo's mimics. It's an M-class. Wren scrutinized the chest part she was holding. Perhaps it was shut down when Milo ran away. Arthur felt something tugging on the M-class's arm, and peered down to find Cloud chewing on the mimic's index finger. You can't eat that, Arthur said, trying to shake Cloud off, but the dog persisted. He growled and chewed harder, grinding his back teeth together. There was a loud hiss, and then the M-class fingertip opened like a clamshell, revealing a small red lever inside. Arthur flicked it down, and Cicely flinched as the mimic's head started moving in her hand. The muscles in his forehead twitched. He blinked rapidly and rolled his tongue around the inside of his mouth, like he was trying to dislodge a crumb of food stuck in the back teeth. Eventually his eyelids stopped fluttering. Good evening, he said, a little uncertainly. Is there anything I can help you with? He spotted Cloud sitting on the floor and spluttered. Cloud? Is that you? The little dog licked the mimic's fingertips. Yes, I miss you too, the M-class said affectionately. Before the two could catch up, Arthur spied movement on the CCTV screens. A mob of V-class mimics were filing into their hidden concrete tunnel. Each of them carrying what looked like a sleek god of canned hairspray, but was probably full of atomized C4 explosives. They started to spray the edge of the stone door. They're going to blast their way in, Cicely squeaked. Wren instinctively dropped the mimic's chest onto the floor and drew her bow, but Arthur covered the top of her quiver with his hand. There are too many of them. We have to hide. Then we'd better take these body pieces with us, Cicely said, tapping the M-class's chest with the top of her toe. The mimic might be able to give us a clue to Milo's whereabouts. Chapter 16, coming soon.